Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Good morning and welcome to Political Spectrum, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. My name is Otobasi Tom, and of course interesting issues keep happening as far as the political scene and the political season in Nigeria is concerned. And trendy still is the emergence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as the PDP presidential candidate, I beg your pardon, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. And of course, a lot of persons still have continued to, put in their congratulatory message as well as, their opinion as to the emergence of a northern candidate when the whole Nigeria, or to a large extent, a lot of Nigerians were agitating for a southeast candidates under the People's Democratic Party. Well, that is what would inform our conversation today on the show, so stay on as we get you started with the political update. Yes, the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar met with Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike on Monday. The former vice president visits Wike in his Abuja residence. The meeting was held to reconcile the two PDP chieftains who held in Abuja. The meeting was to give the PDP a great chance of winning the 2023 presidential elections. Present at the meeting included other top party functionaries who were there, and of course former Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayose, Mohammed Bello, Adokesan, Chief Dane Orobi, and of course Senator Olaka Ugwenu, Senator Ohigie Ezemere, and Mr. Tunde Ayani were all present. The PDP held its presidential primaries in Abuja on Saturday, while Atiku had scored 371 votes and Wike pulled a total of 237 votes. Wike promised that he would fully support the 2023 presidential bid of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and of course Wike said his support for the presidential bid of former vice president will be in line with his promise he made in his speech at the presidential primaries that he will support whoever emerges as the party's presidential candidate. And of course, the governor, who reiterated his promise in a post on his Facebook page yesterday, said he is not going to go back on his words. He also added that he will not abandon the People's Democratic Party because of his loss of the presidential ticket. And of course, I quote, "I made a vow to the official People's Democratic Party and of course Nigerians that I will support whoever emerges," and then he made those statements, and there is a video to that effect. Let's take a look at that at this time. Hello. Well, the emergence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has raised controversy in different sectors of the country, and of course Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has been rejected as the PDP's presidential candidate by a Southern and Middle Belt Forum Leaders Forum. Well, they have described that the emergence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as the PDP presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections as a breezy affront on the people of the South. Well, while reacting to Atiku Abubakar's emergence, the forum stated that the unity and peace of the country means little or nothing to them, and of course they called a segment of the nation's political elite. However, they equally alleged that the certain candidates from the north were pressured or concurred and even intimidated to step down for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Well, President Muhammadu Buhari has praised Governor Aminu Masiri of Katsina for contributing to the development of Nigerian democracy. Buhari stated this in a congratulatory message to the governor on his 72nd birthday. Also, the president and Mr. Masiri hailed from Katsina and our political allies. Mr. Buhari also message is contained in a statement issued on Sunday by his media aide Garba Shehu, and he further noted that Mr. Masiri immense patriotism, hard work and self-discipline would continue to be applicated as an asset on the nation. Well, still dwelling on the outcome of the May just concluded presidential primaries by the People's Democratic Party, Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State and then the presidential aspirant on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, who came second on Saturday's primaries, had accused the Southern governors of betraying the power shifts agreement. Well, Wike, who had vowed to maintain in the party and support its 2023 presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, disclosed that he almost slaughtered to PDP primaries at the stage when the rule was breached, but had to maintain his calmness. The governor spoke at a reception in his honor at the government house in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, following his return from the presidential primaries in Abuja. Also, commendations continue to flow for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar on his emergence as PDP standard bearer yesterday as the Apex Igbo Socio-Cultural Ohaneze Ubibo denied, saying that it would work against Atiku. Let's listen to this speech.
And the entire Nigerians for the support they gave to us. As far as I'm concerned, there is nothing we should worry about. I contested the election based on the principle and agreement with all the Southern governors and the leaders of the South that the presidency should go to the South this period. We have done our own part. We never betrayed anybody because it's not in our blood to betray. But it's a shame to those people, some of the governors from the South, that they are the people they use to sabotage our interest. But however, we have shown them that we're not like them. We're not like them.
Still on updates, nearly 24 hours after Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was announced as the People's Democratic Party flag bearer ahead of the 2023 presidential election, mixed reactions have continued to pour in from various sectors of the polity. Recall that Alhaji clinched the PDP's presidential ticket after pulling a total of 371 votes at the just concluded primary, which was conducted at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja on Saturday. The Waziri of Adamawa adjourned to the defection, who other frontrunners such as Nyesom Wike, Bukola Saraki, and Emmanuel Odom is what many have described as a very close contest. Quite interestingly, observers have begun speculating that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's emergence as the PDP candidate might force the ruling All Progressives Congress APC to file a nothing candidate to ensure it remains in power beyond 2023. It therefore means that the southern region will be removed from the equation. As expected, these speculations have begun to draw mixed reactions from prominent Nigerians online, sharing a video on how Facebook, or some hours ago, Prince Isaac Fayose asserted that the attempt by the North to be in power for 16 years will not be possible in a multi-ethnic country like Nigeria. He went ahead to say that with Buhari having spent 8 years in power, it will be a great injustice to other regions for a northern candidate to emerge as the successor in 2023.
Country. How can Hausa do 8 years? Hausa Muslim 8 years, Buhari. Make we kuku share the country. How can Hausa do 8 years? Hausa Muslim 8 years, Buhari. Now Atiku is coming back to do another 8 years. And he said we are equal. How can we be equal? Igbo is there. Yoruba is there. Sarsat is there. So make we wait. Make we just chill. Make them the rulers they go. I know Odua Nation is shouting. Biafra is shouting. Or Diego. Make you not come.
Well, that's it on the updates this morning. We'll go on a short timeout. That's on our break. And when we come back, we'll take on the morning story. Stay on for the rest of Political Spectrum.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact, when you talk about the credibility in Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises?
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's the bad thing in Nigeria. All for election night, you about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, and in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. it won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them are stealing a lot of money, and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
The situation in Nigerian politics still keeps hitting on as we take on the burning story at this time. And of course, it happens to be the battle on who would actually be pairing with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as his running mate for the 2023 general elections. Interesting topics because quite a number of persons have purchased the form and had stood in for the primary, which of course only one winner emerged. I have been joined this morning as my co-anchor joins me on the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, Otto. Good to have you here. And of course, good morning and welcome to Political Spectrum. It's always a wonderful time to talk politics.
Definitely.
And of course, the issue of who is going to be the pairing mate or the running mate for Atiku Abubakar has generated a lot of arguments from the social media space. A lot of persons are of the opinion that Wike should be the best person that should be picked to handle the flags, the party's ticket. But then going by the body language of Wike and going by the statements that he's made and going by his personality, clearly Wike might not be the person that is going to succumb to being a runner mate for Atiku Abubakar.
Well, quite a number of options. The first thing that what is really true is that since the candidate is from the northern extraction, then chances are that indefinitely the running mate would have to come from the south. So coming from the south, we had so many southern aspirants. Governor Udom Emmanuel is on that table. Governor Wike, Yesum Wike is on that table. And quite some other persons, I think we have like about 2 or 3 of them who are still on that table. But then we'll have to take a look at what their chances are at this point in time. And don't forget a new development that you can also call in and contribute into the program on the numbers that will be displayed on your screen shortly. And yes, we will take on calls on your opinion on this particular subject. Who would be best fit for the job? And why? Who would be best fit for as a running mate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar? And of course, you mentioned that Governor Yesum Wike might not be a very good option, given the fact that he might not want to, settle for a second place. He's a boss of his own and might also always want to be the boss. But then again, I think for the PDP to actually clinch power, if 2 of them being the major leading, in terms of votes, and then you will see that if they put up a merger, it means that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has a strong voice or a strong influence in the north, while Governor Yesum Wike has a strong influence in the south. However, when it comes to issues of politics like this, when it comes to the choice of who a running mate should be, either deputy governor or vice president, I'm sure they're not always looking for people who are experts. They're not always looking for people who are loud, have vocal, people who can look at their boss, their principal, and say this policy, I'm not in support of it. They're already rather looking for a rubber stamp, running mate that will say yes, sir, and then agree to whatever
the president says. So in that regard, if that is to come to play, then yes, Wike will not be a good option for that job.
Well, Wike has already made some statements credited to him in the media that he cannot be a second citizen. He cannot be a running mate. That is ultimately what that statement means. He's a lion, and the lions don't bow to anybody in the jungle. The lion remains a jungle, or the lion in the jungle. So going by that antecedent and the personality of Wike, we might not necessarily see him, caving in and surrendering to become a running mate for Atiku Abubakar. But on the side of the interest of the South region, and then also in the interest of democracy, the personality of Wike would be what Nigerians would need, because over time we've had Nigerians are used to having a deputy governor or president that is a yes sir kind of personality that does not really necessarily project the strength and stamina that should come from that, because that has also to a large extent affected the kind of leadership we've had in Nigeria. We should have two strong leaders, personalities pairing up together, being able to rub minds and being able to tell each other the truth when policies are being made that would affect the masses, and having the personality of Wike and the personality of Atiku Abubakar at this point in time could significantly transform the political terrain for Nigeria. It could mean a lot, because Nigerians would say if Atiku Abubakar wants to get off the right track, we'll have Wike standing by to beat him back on the right line. And that would go in the interest of the Nigerian people, and a lot of persons will support that. But then the question is, will Wike submit to it? And then the bigger question is, will Atiku Abubakar have the heart to go for Wike? Those are the two questions that must be answered, and only Atiku Abubakar and Wike can answer those questions for Nigerians.
Well, can two of them work together? Or because they're always at loggerheads most of the time? But truth be told, no one can actually tell if the two of them can work together until they start to work together. And from the disposition of Governor Nyesom Wike, you could see that he is a good team player. It's not just that he lost out during the primary, he actually pledged allegiance and his total support to whoever would emerge as the candidate of the party, because you could see that he's a true party man. He truly, really loves the People's Democratic Party. Else, he would have wanted to consider his options, knowing that he has a wide range of acceptability by the people. So yes, that's the person of Wike, in as much as he tries to put off the Indaboski lifestyle. We know deep there from his action, you could see that he could make a good team player.
No matter the number of predators that come around the lion's dens, the lion will always be the lion, and the lion will always do everything to protect its territory. And that is the personality of Wike. Now, in a situation where we have, this irony playing out, we will definitely have a lot of things unfolding. But then Nigerians would say, in the interest of the people, in the interest of Nigerians, that Wike should at this point in time probably consider or reconsider his standpoint, and maybe if we have to toe the lines of politics and the fact that interest is what oftentimes will change, then we'll have to look at a scenario where the person of Wike is, given that opportunity to do the needful. And what would that be? Put aside his personal interest, put aside his personality, and embrace the personality that would benefit Nigerians. That is not to say don't say the truth, don't call a spade, don't stand for justice, don't stand for equity, don't stand for fairness. But then, in as much as you stand for this, come to that level negotiating grounds where you let the people know, what, at the end of the day, Nigeria and Nigerian interest is what matters most. And when you come in there, for all we know, this might just be another politics. It's like people say in a relationship that when you find partners who are, consistently fighting, sometimes not necessarily abusing each other, that is, it goes to show, give them a minute away from each other, and you find out that these two persons are consistently fighting, cannot do without each other. Well, so we might be seeing a situation like that play out between Atiku Abubakar and Wike. But what is to be done right now, or what they should do, is try to see, come together for a first time, and then see how the relationship progresses. And if it progresses in the right direction for the interest of Nigerians, then they progress. If not, they can let it go.
Well, Dele Momedo is still one of the aspirants that contested for the presidential position, and in as much as he was not able to get even a single delegate vote for him during the primaries, truth be told that he is a good team player, given the fact that he's a very successful business person, and he's coming from the south as well, in as much as he's the southwest extraction. So yes, Dele Momedo is a picture, someone that could also fit into that figure, not leaving out governor here, Governor Dom Emmanuel, which of course a lot of persons tends to believe that he was not actually getting into the contest to clinch on the ticket, but was actually trying to register his presence at the national scene and possibly put up himself as one of the, aspirants that should be considered for the running mates position to, support any of the emerging aspirants that will emerge as the candidates of the party, which of course is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar at this time. But truth be told, if that is the case, it shouldn't be out of place.
Well, Dele Momodu has significantly made some great strides, some great achievement within the business world, within the world of entrepreneurs, and one cannot take that away from him. And then he has been one of those vocal aspirants within the People's Democratic Party who is, bringing to bear the fact that he wants to bring change to Nigeria, the change that Nigerians truly deserve. He wants to try and replicate what is happening in the private sector to the Nigerian government, and also ensure that Nigerians get to have dividends of democracy. But then, in a place of interest, a lot of persons would say Wike would still take the stand, or if placed side by side against him. But then, you can never tell. I mean, before recall back in the days of 2015, before the 2015 general elections, before Osibanjo became the running mate for President Muhammadu Buhari, there were a lot of speculations, and there were a lot of persons who were considered more qualified than him. But then he happens to be the favored one. And today, in as much as a lot of things have been argued about this present administration and their inability to achieve the law to the interests of Nigerians, a lot of persons would say some of the major achievements of this administration in terms of MSMEs and SMEs in Nigeria has been attributed to his contributions, and that to a large extent, is a commendable effort. So maybe Dele Momodu, given the opportunity, can also surprise Nigerians, just maybe. But then it all depends on the politics and the interests that will play out.
It might be out of place to pick him, going by the fact that, in 1999, it was a Southwesterner in the person of Olusegun Obasanjo, who settled the affairs of the country. And after that, we've seen in the last 8 years a Southwesterner deputizing or, serving as a vice president under President Buhari, President Muhammadu Buhari. And of course, after that, I'm sure it will still have to be with the same issue of nothing going for 8 years and another not trying to get there. So trying to lobby and put a Southwesterner as a vice president might also attract another form of regional calculation as to where that should be zoned to. So definitely, in as much as it will be zoned to the south, because the candidate is from the north under the People's Democratic Party, I'm sure that they've already zoned out the southwest from the picture.
Well, as far as zoning is concerned, I think that is gradually, losing its value within the Nigerian politics. I recall before now, we were all clamoring, Nigerians were clamoring for the presidential ticket of all the political parties, including the two major political parties in Nigeria, to be zoned to the southeast, and that has not happened. We have seen a Northerner clinching the presidential ticket of the People's Democratic Party, and we do not know as it stands, who is going to emerge within the All Progressive Congress at the end of their Congress, presidential Congress elections, and that is something that Nigerians are keeping their fingers crossed, and probably that has been the reason why if you go on Twitter right now, it's heated up, and lots of Nigerians across geopolitical zones are already campaigning for the person of Peter Obi to emerge as Nigeria's president. But then, in a spirit of justice, well, it will come down to the person of Governor Udom Emmanuel and yes, some Wike and some other persons within the southeast region within the People's Democratic Party. Even if those persons did not contest or stood for election for the presidential seat, maybe they could give to somebody still within the region that has the capacity, has the capability to deliver on the dividends of democracy, and of course to lead the people right.
Definitely, leading the people right is one of the major priorities of leadership. And of course, when you talk about the aims and the purpose of leadership and leading the people right, then you've said that the zoning issue is gradually wearing out in the political scene, which of course, a lot of persons might not completely agree with you because they would say it is still, and would I say,
It's still debatable.
Debatable, definitely. But then again, it can still be in focus. Let's take a look at Governor Wike's speech again, and then we'll come back on this conversation.
Our people and the entire Nigerians for the support they gave to us. As far as I'm concerned, there is nothing we should worry about. I contested the election based on the principle and agreement with all the southern governors and the leaders of the South that the presidency should go to the South this period. We have done our own part. We never betrayed anybody because it's not in our blood to betray. But it's a shame to those people, some of the governors from the South, that they are the people they use to sabotage our interest. But however, we have shown them that we're not like them. We're not like them. We have the capacity to do whatever it is good for us. I have something to offer. Do they have anything to offer to you? In 2019, I was the only governor from the South who never negotiated with the present government. They came and said, no, I'm not going to be party to that. And that's why APC never had 25% in this state. But all the other states in the South, they got, the president got 35% and 40%. I said I was not going to sit down with them to negotiate. So, for me, we have done what we are supposed to do by standing firm in what we agreed by the entire South. Leave history for those betrayers of their people. History will judge them. They will live and see how betrayers suffer. So we have done our best. And the whole world have seen that we have done our best. So whatever they are thinking may not be what will happen. So I just want to thank you for the support. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for everything. You have shown the world that Rivers is one. Our interests must be protected at all times. The winner also saw, look, you know, they underrate us, but now they will not underrate us again. We have all it takes to do whatever we want to do. It's a matter of you to be firm. It's a matter of you to be hopeful. There's nobody that is born greater than us in this country. And therefore cannot answer second-class we can't. We just use this one to tell them that enough is enough. We made them not to sleep. We made them not to eat. We made all of them, from wherever they say they come from, to know that, look, there's somebody who can take them on. This country does not belong to one particular zone. If people are afraid of talking, it's their business.
Yes, glad to have you back. The show is your political spectrum, and of course, we are talking about who would, take the place of the running mate, or who would partner or would pay up with the People's Democratic Party candidate, presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections. And of course, yes, lots of persons are on that list. One of the very first name there is Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, who of course was working, or the immediate pair, or someone close in terms of voting to the winner of that primary. Then of course on the fourth place is Governor Domi Manuel, which of course are the two major persons from the south that might be considered for that position. It's a discussion that a lot of persons are up to, and of course you can join and call 0702-558-0019 and let's get to hear your opinion. Meanwhile, we have another information coming in here that from the Court of Appeal, Senator John James Akpano-Odoidege has withdrawn the appeal against Mr. Stephen Turekpo, the state chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Akwa Ibom State. And of course, that puts an end to the two chairmanship battle that has been in the All Progressives Congress for about a year now, almost, in the last few months.
Well, we will always say, Akwa Ibomites, Nigerians, we've heard this over and over again, that the party is supreme.
Definitely.
So we know that regardless of the situations of things, regardless of what happens, eventually, the party is always going to be supreme. I recall talking about the statement issued by Senator Itai Nang concerning the just concluded Guber primaries in Akwa Ibom State, where he stated categorically that he and other Guber aspirants within the APC do not recognize the person of Akanodofia, that he's not a card-carrying member of the APC in Akwa Ibom State. And same still within the APC, we had authorities coming out to say, look, Akanodofia is an APC card-carrying member in Srubium, where he's coming from. And so if you have to clarify that, you can go to the registrar and get to see if or whether or not he's actually a card-carrying member. And on his authenticity as the flag bearer of the APC, it has been agreed upon by the Stephen Turekpo's camp, who by virtue of this withdrawal of the suit by Senator John Akpano-Odoidege, it therefore means Stephen Turekpo is the legitimate APC chairman within Akwa Ibom State. And on that note, that means that Akanodofia is definitely the verified, authentic flag bearer of the APC also in Akwa Ibom State. So these things will always happen. The twists and turns will always happen. But then when it comes to the final verdict, like they say, at the national level, the interest of the party is supreme. And of course, the national will always supersede the state interest.
Definitely, the national interest, and of course, party is supreme. So whatever the party at the national or the national working committee of the party decides upon becomes binding on every party faithful. So yes, the situation is one that was very dicey. We could see it play out during the governorship primaries last week in Akwa Ibom State, which of course led to a face-off along all-round road Udodoma axis with the INEC materials, or the ballot materials that came in from Abuja, and the supervisors from the National Working Committee. At that point, a lot of persons were concerned. Perhaps they were going to see another, how they were going to split, the ballot and have two elections at two separate locations at, Ekpo and then at Shegres Arena. But of course, as of today, that has been laid to rest, but not without some intrigues, which of course will be brought in the course of programming subsequently, because you feel when two elephants fight, they say the grass suffers. So at this point, where two top party stakeholders at loggerhead, in as much as this has been resolved, a lot of persons will say that they are kind of foreseeing someone defecting from the All Progressives Congress.
Well, like you would always say, that those things you don't need to shake your head and begin to prophesy before we see that is going to come to be. But then, if you've been following the pattern like you've been following, the pattern of speech coming from the APC and the PDP has always been aggrieved parties within the party should not, do anything, should stay calm, maintain status quo, because the reconciliation committee has been set up and their interests would be addressed within the party's interest.
Of course.
So going by that, will we be seeing defection? There is that likely possibility that might happen. But then, where are you defecting to at this point in time? And how will you maintain relevance when you defect to the next party, given the timetable of things that has played out?
Well, the situation in Nigeria as we speak has left the two major political parties in the country, the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress, at a more disadvantage than other, sub or minor political parties. Then we could see that play out when Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State, left the People's Democratic Party. And of course, one would have thought he would move to the All Progressives Congress as usual, because initially it was them crisscrossing from APC, PDP, PDP, APC. That was the line of defection. But now we have seen a new direction to the defection, where I know Kwankwaso is there at another, forming a Democratic Party somewhere, and then he has moved to join the Labour Party, which of course he believes they share the same ideals and all of that. But then again, the Labour Party might be a party for a lot of persons to look at, because for Peter Obi to be there, and with the rates Nigerians are agitating for, Peter Obi to emerge as the presidential candidate of, not just the presidential candidate, to be seen as the next president, or should be given or paved way for to become the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. One would think, how would the Labour Party achieve that when it does not have structure in the 36 states of the Federation plus the FCT? So I want to believe at this point that within these few days that a lot might be happening in the political space, where the Labour Party would try to build structures across the different states of the Federation.
Well, whoever says the Labour Party and other political parties do not have structures across the nook and cranny of Nigeria is basically giving that information on a lopsided, gathered. But then, in as much as we know that these parties are not very strongly rooted across the nation, we also know that the political scale can be tipped at any point in time. And if you are on Twitter right now, you know that Labour Party is the hashtag trending party right now on Twitter, with Nigerian youths and persons across the different zones, retweeting. The last tweet made by Peter Obi, where he said he was going to return Nigerians to Nigerians, has been going viral on Twitter and different social media platforms. And if you go by that, it's not just a Twitter mobilization. Remember, the NSAS protest, it all started from a tweet. And so if you go by that stand, it is moving from a Twitter, a tweet being posted by Peter Obi, is moving from a tweet being posted by supporters of Peter Obi to a tweet being retweeted. And that is moving from just being retweeted to being a movement of persons who are actually getting to meet in physical spaces, beginning to form structures, beginning to ask for the different persons that are needed to run a functional campaign organization. They've been asking for graphic designers, they're asking for publicity image consultants, they're asking for all kinds of artists and persons within an organization that could lead to a very functional and effective campaign organization. And if that comes into being, which is the movement that is being currently spearheaded on Twitter, and it materializes into a real thing that we will get to see, we might be witnessing another NSAS protest, this time around Nigerians moving to vote a candidate they believe is going to deliver on the dividends of democracy, is going to deliver or save Nigerians from the present situation that we are in.
In as much as that is so, Francis, a lot of persons will still have to believe that voter sensitization is key, because you would understand that to a large extent that people in the rural community do not just recognize most of the symbols of this party, but they've over time heard, and it continues to ring in their consciousness, the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress, which are the two major political parties. So to sell an upcoming, if I want to use that word, an upcoming political party that wants to attain a national presence, then a lot of work has to be done for that to be achieved. But well, this is where we'll have to pause on the burning story. When we return, perhaps we'll return with our guests, who will be looking at the issue of the INEC extension for dates for political parties. To whose benefit, to what extent, and how would it affect the general elections come 2023? We'll take on that when we return from this break. Stay with us.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact, when you talk about the credibility in the Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises?
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All for election night, you have money.
Definitely, no matter what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, and in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here.
Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my Lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact, when you talk about the credibility in Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises?
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All for election night, you about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, and in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
Welcome back. And of course, at this point, we'll still be talking about the extension, the 6 days extension given by INEC to actually for political parties to file in candidates for the 2023 general elections. And of course, this was long scheduled in the timetable initially released by INEC, and a lot of persons had believed that there was not going to be any form of extension, which of course INEC, the electoral umpire, actually confirmed that they won't shift it for whatever reason. But now it has been shifted. We'll try to find out why it's so, and to whose benefit, and how it would affect the 2023 elections. Joining us on the set about now is political affairs analyst Pauline Osinta. Good morning.
Morning. Thanks
And
for
good to
having me.
have you join us.
Thank you.
All right. In your opinion, what do you think caused the shift or the extension in the timetable of INEC?
Well, the political system is a complex. The political process, of course, is a complex system. Sometimes reality differs from appearance. You know, it may appear that they have all they needed, and things are in place, the facilities, the documentation, and all of that when they fix dates. And along the process, along the the line of activities, they could wake up to see that something is missing in the line. So I think on the one side, they are trying to cross the T's and dot all the I's, political I's and political T's, And on the other side, I also, as a person, as a Nigerian, we could remember last time, 2019, I think the presidential election was shifted like twice or thereabouts, if I'm not mistaken. It was. So it could be a related circumstance. It was shifted. Nigerians suspected that the shift was an arrangement, was a deliberate arrangement to, put one party on the advantage. It was a suspicion actually. So I think something like that could as well play out this time around.
Well, at this point in time, a lot of Nigerians are already beginning to make that speculations, owing to the fact that before now, INEC Chairman Yakubu had already stated several times that nothing will possibly make INEC to shift the June 3rd deadline that they had issued out to the political parties to submit the list. And then we are waking up after the PDP must have conducted virtually all of his primaries election and elected his presidential flag bearer, when we are yet to see the APC conduct the same primaries. A lot of Nigerians are of the opinion that probably INEC is working in favor of the ruling All Progressive Congress. How would you comment on that?
Well, I wouldn't want to discredit the credibility and the independence of the INEC on the one side. On the other side, of course, INEC was, as a body, was appointed or constituted by somebody or a body. And INEC as a body is paid by somebody or a body as well. So I don't think it is very logical, considering our own level of political development. It is very possible to achieve that level of consciousness, that level of political maturity and independence, where the INEC can just on its own fix a date, postpone a date within their own jurisdiction without the influence and contributions from the external forces, which of course may be where they get their pay from.
Well, we know that as far as Nigeria is concerned, that INEC's budget and allocations are oftentimes released and budgeted for, and that INEC was instituted or established to function as an independent, without interference from any quarters of government. And then over time, we've also had situations where it seems that the electoral umpire has been compromised. And I'll bring your attention back to Akwa Ibom State, where we've had the issue of the factions between the APC, and then the issue of status quo antebellum and status quo as it was within the APC and the People's Democratic Party, where we had Barrister Mike again is standing side with some factions within the APC, and then the same thing was not adhered to within the PDP. Now, in this situation, what is the extended deadline? Who would you say would favor? Is it the political parties within the major political parties? Basically, who is going to favor from it?
Well, elections here is like, let me take us to when we're in the secondary school. If for one reason or the other we fall into some criminal activities, maybe not that criminal per se. Maybe you lateness to school and all of that. Those are criminal activities. You know, when they want to flog, when the teacher want to flog the students, the erring students, recalcitrant ones, you know, you will want to wait first. You know, wait first, go behind, let this other one receive the stroke, so that you see the way
the handle,
and you can know how to
adjust yourself.
Adjust yourself. So this is a related situation. In politics, one party would always wait and watch for the other to go first. Let me go back to my drawing board and rearrange, perhaps research, do a research. Let me watch, let me know who is going to be their candidates. So I will check if the candidates we had would be able to match the ones they have. You understand me? So as someone who was in that system sometimes some years back, you know, I still have that idea that it's always like that. Now, talking about who it is going to favor, those who had already filed in their candidates, of course, they cannot go back. You know, they cannot go back. They have to flow with the tide.
But there's a provision in the that you can substitute candidates before INEC finally does.
That is where there is need for. That's where there is an established glaring need for.
Once there's a clause there, you know, politicians can always leverage on the clause to find something.
Yeah,
to
and
fix
of course, yeah, that's possible, but that's not going to be very smooth with an elephantic candidate.
Okay, let's look at the Akwa Ibom State scenario. You recall that for the PDP in Akwa Ibom State, there's still rumored to have two contenders vying for the Guba ticket of the People's Democratic Party. We've had the Nest of Champion where Pastor Moino was the announced leader, and then of course we had the Wet Housing Center where Honorable Mike Onyong emerged as the flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party. Would you say this clause presented by INEC could pose a threat to the PDP in Akwa Ibom State?
Yeah, from the legal perspective, the law would want to look at the one that was elected, so to say, elected or selected or announced from a candidate, from an exercise that took place at the proper place that was assigned for that, you know, political activity. Talking about the Nest of Champions, perhaps I am not a member of the PDP, and I cannot hold brief for PDP, you know, for any party generally. But I want to look at it from an objective standpoint. If one primary election was conducted in a place that is legally prescribed as a venue for that, I think they would want to hang on that.
Well, what is legal at this point might be dependent on which standpoint the person is coming from. Okay. Now, I want to give a typical example to that, talking about you know, the accredited venue for a political primary.
That's the legal.
The case that happened on over the weekend last week within when the All Progressives Congress was carrying out their governorship primary. There were two venues, one at the Sheargrass Arena and the other at Equobot. From what Mike Igini actually said, the INEC chairman in Akwa Ibom State, he stated categorically that it was only the Austin-led Ekanem chairmanship of the party that got accreditation for the venue, and that the venue recognized by INEC, by the State House of Assembly, and accredited for the All Progressives Congress governorship primary was Sheargrass Arena. Regardless, that election at Sheargrass Arena did not hold, but it held at Equobot and saw to the emergence of...
was he there? The INEC chairman? Did he attend?
Yes, he was at Sheargrass.
No, I mean the other ones, since he didn't hold at this point.
No, the INEC chairman in Akwa Ibom State was not there at Equobot. He was at Sheargrass Arena.
Nobody represented the INEC at Equobot?
Someone represented from Abuja. You know, INEC officials came in from Abuja and they were there at Equobot. But the elections held, and the elections has been upheld as of today, because even coming by the information we just got in here that the governorship aspirant of the All Progressives Congress, Senator John James Akpan-Odoi, has withdrawn the case against Stephen Tugekpo, who was the embattled chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Akwa Ibom State. It therefore means that election is valid because it has ascertained the validation of that election and the emergence of Akanodofia as the candidate of the All Progressives Congress. Given that circumstances, how would you put it side by side with what is happening with the People's Democratic Party?
Well, I think I was once a member of the People's Democratic Party. Not just a member, I was an officer in my ward quite many years ago. What we used to see then was if a superior officer attends, if there is, there's differences like that, but if a superior officer, recognized officer of the party and of the INEC attends and approves one side of the event, basically that is the one the party would uphold. What we used to have then, I don't know that, I don't know these days. So if they had one at the nest of champions and the hierarchy of the party was there, the security agencies were there, and of course it was announced, and another one was held somewhere else, I wouldn't really, well, I don't want to hold brief for any.
Okay, now you would also understand that that is the exact same situation that went down during the PDP governorship primaries, because at the with housing center of the governorship primary of the People's Democratic Party, INEC officials were said to be there as well. And of course, there were party, monitors of people from the National Working Committee of the party there as well. So at that point, who would you say, or which venue would you say is the, accredited venue for the governorship primaries, and who is the authentic candidate of the People's Democratic Party?
I would want to, before I would want to blame the INEC for maybe cheapening themselves. Quote. The INEC is supposed to be, like you have rightly put it, their name is independent. Is that title or part of their appellation, independent? They were supposed to be independent, and independence.
But they are independent, independent National Electoral Commission.
Yeah, that is their name. That is their name. That's how they are called.
It means their name is what they are.
Okay, fine. That's why I said earlier in metaphysics, in philosophy, there's a difference between reality and appearance. The difference between reality and appearance. You may appear to me as Otobasi Tom. I see you as, that's what my eyes have seen and interpreted to my brain. And I conceptualize you as Otobasi Tom. And it could be, you may not really be what I think you are. So in politics,
what else would I possibly be if I'm not Otobasi Tom?
You could be somebody else. And just like when you say air, we call it air, breeze, you don't know what that thing is by itself. But to us as humans, it appears to us as air, as the thing we have to breathe to live. But inside itself, by itself, you don't know what it is. How does it exist? What form does it exist? So in politics, I blame one. Let me reduce it to the circumstance, the prevailing situation here. I would blame the INEC without apologies, because they are supposed, if they are independent, they are supposed to show the way. They are supposed to show the right way. No, that center is not good. It should be here. Let us stand here, and they should be at one point.
Well, would you say it's INEC or the political party? Because
the political parties are,
or by these cliches, that party is supreme
within the for the members.
For the members, and of course, it is not INEC that would choose who becomes the candidate of a political party.
INEC is an agency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Of course, definitely it does. To a large extent, it is the National Working Committee of the political party that will actually send names of candidates that they are presenting to INEC. So yes, it might be some sort of INEC just is just supervision, and if after supervising, the National Working Committee of the party says it's XYZ that emerge as the candidates for our party, would you go and tell them? Would INEC tell political party no? I'm not sure there's such right on that.
By virtue of the act that established INEC as an electoral umpire. INEC, in my view, is supposed to express and demonstrate some degree of authority based within the ambient, within the jurisdiction of their service. They are supposed to express or demonstrate some authority, some power. I think they are not supposed to be tossed from left to the right. If I am an INEC officer, there should be some legal backing, some political, some legal backing to my service. That if by my job prescription, these people are supposed to do their primaries today, we are supposed to monitor or supervise or conduct the primaries. I think there should be a directive from the federal government or from the party at the national level if they are supposed to work, do whatever the party asks them to do, without maybe looking at the law or whatever area. So I think there should be some sort of an arranged, prescribed, prescription. The election in the Kwara State will hold tomorrow. At this point, INEC, you go there, you supervise. Not the election will hold in Akwa tomorrow. Party faction will come and tell you, no, come and hold my own here. Another faction will go, no, do my own here, and INEC will follow them like that. It doesn't really show a good picture.
The situation that actually played out in Akwa Ibom State was a very hilarious one. And,
amusing, very amusing.
Yes, very amusing. But then that gives credence to why some persons within Akwa Ibom State, within Nigeria, said that INEC have been compromised. You recall that in not too long a moment ago, we've had persons calling for the chairman of INEC to be probed, or for him to present his asset before the bureau, the Nigerian bureau, so that everybody would know that this is how much he has, or this is his net worth before the elections, and after the election we'll get to find out what he's worth. And there have been also calls for the resident electoral commission across the different states and the FCT to equally do same. But in as much as we are yet to see that, given the situation that played out in Akwa Ibom State, according to my barrister Mike Gigin, he has said that going by the court ruling within the APC faction, the court had ordered maintenance of status quo, and that had meant that Austin Ekandem is the recognized until that case is sorted out in court. That was his reasons, the reason he gave for standing for why INEC,
the Shea Grace faction.
Yes, for why INEC recognizes the Shea Grace Arena and recognizes the Austin Ekandem faction. And then we woke up to see the national INEC body coming down all the way from Abuja to side the Ntorekpo faction. And you will recall that before now, we also had the National Working Committee of the APC swearing in Stephen Ntorekpo, regardless of the fact that Austin Ekandem was already sworn in as the party chairman in Akwa Ibom State. Now, these arguments have been the reasons why Akwa Ibom might say, at this point in time, what should be done to INEC officials who reportedly or allegedly seem to have compromised the independent status of INEC? Because going forward, it therefore means if they cannot be trusted to be independent and unbiased in their dealings with the electorate, with the political parties, it therefore means the Nigerians people will be, disenfranchised one way or the other, or elections will not be credible and fair.
Well, I don't want to say they are corrupt, because corruption has come to become a way of life. Unfortunately, become a way of life. Everybody different, not just the INEC. Just like when people say police are corrupt, not just the police, only everybody. The church, the pastors are corrupt. The hospital, the doctors are corrupt. Even in the media field, some of us are corrupt. So, INEC is a body made up of people who are Nigerians like us. What is good for the janda, they say is good for the
goose.
so if you see, like I said, you say you rightly put it, amusing, very, very amusing that the state INEC does not recognize this center, and national will come straight without even acknowledging.
Would you trace this to what is happening within the political parties, where key players would have their supporters stand and defend one particular option or one particular ideology, and then there's disparity in interest within a particular political party, and where they cannot settle their differences, there's a divide and rule system. And when that happens, each and every key player has some sort of connection in Abuja where they can call the shots, and then it works for them. Would you still trace it down to that part, or is it just INEC?
I was trying to generalize. INEC is we're all Nigerians. It's the same thing.
Definitely.
Definitely the
We're
same thing.
Nigerians.
Yeah, that's that. So if I, for
But
instance,
wait, I beg to ask a question. What does it really mean when you say we are Nigerian? Does it mean that that statement has been used over time, such that even persons in the diaspora would always attribute that once you say you are a Nigerian, there is this perception, there is this this look that the law enforcement officers outside the climes of Nigeria will look to you. Possibly, has it become a cliche that the term Nigerian definitely is synonymous with corruption?
Yeah, let me expand it. Not corruption, not Nigerian. The world, all of everybody the same. So let me not give my country a negative image.
At least
we are humans. Let me say we are humans. We are humans. Not let me not use Nigerians to refer to an issue that is on the other side of the law. You see, so you were talking about using connections for
to back up their interests,
back up your selfish interests. It is not a new thing anyway. It's not a new thing. It has always been there. It goes on to portray the fact that politics has become, the murky water of politics has swallowed good intentions. Anybody who comes into politics with a mindset of service would not want to go that far as to calling somebody or some connection in Abuja to back up your interest, to enforce your interest on the people. I think anybody that has a good intention in contesting election should be satisfied by the public opinion.
Well, what if you see that the public opinion does not actually prevail, but what prevails is the highest shot caller in a particular region, then perhaps would you still say that is the people's opinion and should stand? Or would you still say calling for perhaps help from a superior quarters could be seen as selfish interest?
It is.
In
this circumstance, it is.
Mm.
Because if you are contesting election on a platform of a political party, and along the line, maybe some forces within the states are against you, or within your party.
Within the state?
Yeah, in your state, right?
Or party, as the case may be.
Starting from your party before we talk about the state, that are against your interests. They fire you, they block you, they barricade your progress, in the pathway to achieving what you want.
Is it just okay to withdraw so it doesn't be seen? It doesn't get seen as you pushing a selfish interest?
My own philosophy, I would withdraw. If you ask me, I will withdraw. It means I am not accepted.
Now, if you happen to withdraw, let's come from the line of coming
I'll
to
let my
serve the
supporters
people.
know why I withdraw.
Now, what would be the fate of the persons who actually look up to you, who were hoping that you will be the salvation that they needed?
Let me put it to my own. Let me put it in my own situation. Me, the kind of person I am, I will call everybody that supported me. I'll explain to them why I withdraw. I like integrity over political office.
But the truth of the matter is, we all know that power is not given. No one would come pat your back and say, come and sit down, come and take.
Yeah.
Power is not given,
Yeah.
power is taken.
But
so
if
would
I
you
see-
say you
if I
are
see-
done? Would you say you are, done just, or you have not betrayed the people by just, saying you withdraw?
I don't keep anything in the dark. If I go, if I try, I go and I see that the forces around me, I am swimming against the tide. And I will let them know whatever step I take, I let every of my supporters
Well,
know.
how would that stand with your supporters? And I'm asking that question because you recall that shortly before the PDP Guba primaries in Akwa Ibom said, we had Senator Basi Albert boycotting the primaries. We had Barrister Onofio also boycotting, citing the court case and of course the ad hoc delegate election that happened on the 30th of April. And the status quo antebellum that a lot of persons have made a mockery of in the streets of Akwa Ibom State. But then, going by that, a lot of supporters have been very, very bitter by the move moved by Senator Basi Albert and Barrister Onofio, that they have, reportedly betrayed the trust, betrayed the loyalty of the people who trusted them.
According to them, they are still in the race.
Now,
they've not officially
explain how they are still in the race when
the last I read
candidates are already out.
The last I read about Onofio Luke, Barrister Onofio Luke,
yes,
he said he has not backed out of the race. He is only respecting the court order that the mission, the movement is still on. I think that's the last official statement.
That's the same thing from Basi Albert.
That means they've not withdrawn yet. The fight is not over.
But in a situation where the Guba primaries has already been conducted, and going by the last court statement that came shortly after, on the day of that Guba elections, the High Court sitting in Abuja, where it was reported that the High Court has said they did not order the PDP in Akwa Ibom State not to go ahead with the Guba primaries or conducting any of these primaries elections in the state.
They did not order the party.
They said reportedly one faction have gone, and of course that is coming from one faction, and the second faction has said
do they have the right to order the party not to?
So according to according to the amended, the 2022 Electoral Act, the court does not have any right to interfere or, impede any political process in Nigeria. And so the court, coming from that standpoint, has said they had only advised parties to maintain status quo. And so at this point in time, the ad hoc delegates were the ones used for election. And then these other two persons decided to boycott election based on the court order. Now let's say the court eventually gets to favor or rule against the use of the ad hoc delegate. What situation will we be presenting ourselves with? Would these two persons still be in the rest? And if the court does not rule in favor or against the ad hoc delegate, it therefore means the ad hoc delegate had the right to participate in that primaries, and yet they boycotted. What are the chances that the PDP will be able to conduct a rerun of the primaries in Akwa Ibom State for them to come back and be part of the rest? Or we'll be looking at a court scenario where the court would rule and say, okay, you know what, this is the person that's going to be the flag bearer.
You see, the other thing is, like you said, hilarious. The whole situation is, there is this commotion, legal commotion of the law. Sort of, even the law itself appears to be
at least the legal commotion. I bet we would like to drive this conversation home. Mr. Pauline Osunta, just quickly, in perhaps 30 seconds or 60 seconds as the case may be, what is the hope for political parties? How can they utilize the extension given by INEC to ensure that they can settle the court cases, the multiple candidates emanating from same position from same political parties to finally be ready for the 2023 general elections?
The only way out is to consult. Why political parties have problems is non-consultative nature, tyranny, dictatorship. It should be me. I want this person. I don't want. I want this. I want. They don't consult members. So the political parties, if they want to make a headway, they should use this little window open for them to do proper consultations.
Do you think they have the luxury of the consultations? Is wide.
It might not really be.
We have just few days, 6 days extension.
When you say stakeholders, consult with them, talk to them. You may not have the opportunity to go around and meet. When I say stakeholders, leadership of the market, women, student union, the party, heads
party
of exco. Talk to them, let them know that you have respect. It's psychic. This is psychic. Let them feel that you have respected them. Man likes to be respected. Man likes to be recognized. A good politician is someone that knows how to recognize. Even if you are deceiving the people, try to show them that you recognize them. In fact, that is why most of these are political leaders in the state here. That's the trick they use. They say, oh, they hug you, my brother. Hey, it's long time I've not seen you. Take my number, call me. They won't take your call. They won't take your call. At that point, they make you feel, this person embraced me. Look at me. I snap picture. Take picture. It's psychological. So let them go back. Talk to members of the parties. Meet with the people. Look for credible, look for popular aspirants. Those, if in the case of election being put on the ground, someone that can command followership.
Keyword there we could take, Mr. Pauline, that is consultation, and I hope political parties can make do with that, and of course use this window period to their advantage. Meanwhile, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, we look forward to another time, and from us here, thank you very much for watching. It was a night show, and that's the size of our package. My name is Otobasi Tom.
And I am Francis Ede. Thanks for being there.
See you tomorrow.
SpectrumTv, broadening your horizon.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards a